speaking of metadata, reputation thieves strike again. Jonathan, what's this story?
So on August 14th in 2025, Eric Topol, a prominent physician slash scientist, I don't know why those are two separate things because I thought a physician, whatever, publicly alerted X and LinkedIn about fraudulent books on Amazon using his identity. These included fake memoirs and cookbooks themed around longevity, which would echo his legitimate work in his book Super Agers. Despite these infringement reports, the listings persist, which are kind of showing that there's an issue with content moderation. This confuses buyers and it dilutes trust in a guy's brand. So like Topple's brand, people are looking at it as like, is it really you? Is it really you? This has happened with a bunch of other people too, especially celebrities, that people think they're going to make money off of your name, to where it's like chaff. They're just shooting a bunch of stuff to cloud the air and confuse. This is a great, unethical, but great tactic to use against a competitor if you want to dilute their brand so that your brand can become sharper and more defined.
It's not worth it for that purpose, even if you have no ethics.
Yeah, it's immoral, and when people find out, you're done.
Yeah. So we have a whole episode on this. I actually coined a term for this kind of fraud because we didn't have a term for it yet, and I'm really hoping it will take off. And it's reputation theft, because it's not actually illegal, right? Creating a pen name that's a Jana Bass and writing a book on editing books, that seems like her. There's nothing technically illegal about it, but that is an effort to steal her reputation or to steal Eric's reputation. And so we have a whole episode on how to protect from this sort of thing. My advice for him would be to get a trademark on the phrase super agers. So that's his term that kind of brands his book and his other books. And he can't trademark his own name because I'm not the only Thomas Umstattd in the world, right? It's a very unusual name. There's two other Thomas Umstatts that I know of, right? So it'd be unfair to them if I trademarked my name. But you, at least not easily trademark your name. But you can trademark phrases. So you have to be very careful with that, though, because if the phrase is overly broad, or if other people are also using that phrase, which is very common in fiction, for instance, the whole world will turn on you. We've seen this several times in the romance world, where some romance author tried to trademark some phrase. Yeah. All the other romance authors turned on her. It's safer in nonfiction, though, I will say. So you'll have a lot of brands, like 7 Habits. I believe that phrase is a trademarked phrase, and the Stephen Covey company has used 7 Habits to create a whole economy's worth of related products, right? This is the 7 Habits journal, 7 Habits for your teen, 7 Habits for married couples, right? Whatever. And so you can do that sort of thing. Trademarks are expensive. You do have to defend them. I'm not a lawyer. But in my episode on reputation theft, I do interview a lawyer, and we talk about other ways that you can fight this. But the fastest, cheapest way is to do exactly what Eric is doing, which is whine about it publicly and hope that the outcry causes Amazon to take these books down, which does work in some instances.
I mean, I've always said, if you really want help in Walmart, go in the middle of the aisle and start screaming. Someone will come to help you. All right, so a bit of fun news. Word of the day, doom prompting. Okay, and I'm having a lot of fun with this. Doom prompting, which is kind of the idea of doom scrolling, is the idea of mindlessly or addictively conversing with a chatbot. So you're sitting on the couch and you're like, ChatGPT, do you like me? Okay. And so I actually that was the little bit of news or whatever. But I actually have a question, and Thomas disagrees with me on this, so I'm looking forward to this. Is being antisocial a defense against this kind of behavior? And so let me tell you why I think that. When I use ChatGPT, I ask it a question. I might type please. Okay, I don't see this as a person. I'm not anthropomorphizing it. I don't think Skynet is going to come after me because I was rude. I just don't function that way. That's not my personality. So I will type in my question. I'll get my answer, and then I leave the ChatGPT window to go do the thing that I asked it the question for. Okay, I don't say thank you. I don't say goodbye. There's no emotional trigger in me at all whatsoever for talking to a robot. Okay. But I'm also antisocial. I do this in gaming. Okay, if you're a problem on the team, and Thomas has had to call me out a couple times when we play together because we'll get a rando on the team. I'll be like, dude, why are you being stupid? Stop being stupid, okay? Because I'm there for a result, right? You know, I want to win the game, and I'm not there to make friends. So that's just maybe how my personality is. So I am not affected by this doom prompting thing. I don't want a relationship with AI. I don't want a relationship with anyone. So,
So I
Thomas, what
actually,
are your thoughts?
yeah, so I disagree. I think that you're just a jerk, and that's why
Yes.
you're not nice, which is
I mean, that's fine.
different than being antisocial. So I actually see being very social, having very positive, healthy relationships in your life. The more satisfied you are with real human interaction, the less desperate you are for an artificial alternative, right? If you've
Mm,
just eaten a good meal, you're not tempted by McDonald's. But if you're starving and there's nothing else open, suddenly you're tempted by McDonald's. And so,
sure.
Jonathan, you may be a jerk, but you're a happily married jerk, and you have a
Yeah.
good community with your church, and
And
you
my
have a
wife
good
is so
relationship with
nice.
your family, right? So you're not actually like socially, you're actually in a pretty good place, and you're not vulnerable for the AI to kind of slot into some empty friendship slot in your life, or you're less vulnerable
Sure.
for that. But somebody who has no friends, doesn't get out, doesn't go to church, isn't married, and they can chat with an AI that promises to be all of their dreams, right, and fulfilled. That's very dangerous, and it can create a spiral that's very mentally unhealthy. And it's one
Mm,
of the reasons why I'm part of the reason why I'm building the toolbox, because I think that a chat interface is actually not a good interface for using these powerful tools, because it can lead to that, right? Like,
mm.
I don't want AI Thomas to be your friend, partly because I would bankrupt me.
Thomas, do you like me? Do you like my book?
Like, I see how people use AI Thomas, and it's exactly how I want them to use it, right? They have a marketing question, they ask AI Thomas, it gives them the answer. If they don't understand, they'll ask for clarification. They go back and forth a few times, then they're done, right? I don't want them going round and round and round, like getting affirmations and like and it would be weird. Don't flirt with AI Thomas.
Make him
We went
read
in a
it.
very
Do
strange
it.
place here. So I think being very social is actually a protection against this sort of doom prompting, but I am starting to see this as a problem more and more in society as people are opting for these AI companions. Speaking of AI tools, I have a new AI tool that I've built called Not a Copy Editor. And I'll have a whole episode coming up on this novel marketing in a few days. But this is a companion to my AI tool called Not a Developmental Editor. So, Not a Developmental Editor will give you developmental feedback on your book. Not a copy editor. You select what English you speak, so British or Canadian or American. Then you pick your style book that you want it to follow. So, Chicago Manual Style or the Oxford Manual Style. And then it will give you a copy edit of a chapter of your book following that style guide. And everything is presented as a suggestion that you can either incorporate or not, which is a much better interface for protecting your voice than, say, Grammarly or Pro Writing Aid's little red squigglies. It's a little bit more friction, but that friction forces you to
Right.
make a judgment call on each edit, which I think is
Mhm.
actually beneficial in the long run. I
Friction
break
is
down
good.
this more in an upcoming episode, but I do encourage you to, if you're already a patron, give it a shot. Let me know what you think. With all of these tools, I'm constantly improving them based off of patron feedback.